And a few smiles is always a good thing.
I don't have a problem there.
Mary's going to be our timekeeper, so if you guys could just watch her when it's your turn. Okay. Good evening. And welcome to the Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce Town Hall Candidate Forum. My name is Wendy Gaylor, and I'm the President and CEO of the Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce. We are pleased to host this event tonight for our Town Council candidates, and we look forward to hearing from each one of you. We will allow time for questions as well. I would like to thank our board, our Government Affairs Committee for helping to support this event, along with our staff. We would also like to thank the town for allowing us to host our candidate forum here tonight. Let us begin with the pledge. May you stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I would like to thank all the attendees and candidates for attending this evening's session, and also our Mayor Steve Rush. I would like to introduce Pam Bailey, our Government Affairs Committee Chairman. She will be introducing each one of you this evening. Pam is the Marketing and Business Development Coordinator for the Bedford County Economic Development. She is responsible for managing the Bedford One program industry tours and linked the high school students with local business tours and career pathways. She also provides support to the EDA and manages grants for the county. Pam joined Bedford County in 2018 and brings more than 20 years of experience in marketing. She holds a bachelor's degree in interior design and marketing from Meredith College in Raleigh, North Carolina, and is a member of the International Economic Development Council and VITA. She is an active member of the International Association of Business Communicators, and Pam has 2 grown sons, and she resides in Bedford County. And now I'll go ahead and introduce our moderator for the evening. Eric Miller with WDBJ7 is our moderator. Eric is a reporter and multimedia journalist with WDBJ7. He has been with WDBJ since 2018. Eric is a graduate from Northwestern University and holds his degree in broadcast journalism and political science. He is a native of North Georgia and loves living in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Eric is an avid hiker, coffee lover, and professed political junkie. He has reported for South Africa's largest cable station, covering everything from political events to the bird flu and now COVID-19. Eric enjoys political reporting, and we are so glad to have him here tonight for our Town Hall Candidate Forum. I will now turn the program over to Pam Bailey, and she will introduce each candidate. After Pam introduces the candidates, she will hand the program over to our moderator, Eric Miller, where he will call each candidate up for their timed 4-minute remarks. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Okay, now I get to introduce all the candidates. And hopefully I'll get all these right. Mr. Black, Tim Black. Mr. Black is currently Vice Mayor for Bedford and is seeking re-election. He has served on Town Council for 6 years and has spent the past 30 years working in finance and banking and is currently an estate and trust administrator with a Roanoke-based law firm. Stacey Haley. Mr. Haley moved to Bedford 15 years ago. He holds a degree in business management from CVCC and worked for the U.S. Postal Service for 18 years and currently works at Lowe's as the electric pro. He is seeking re-election for a third term on town council after starting 8 years ago. Stacy also served on many boards in Bedford, or has served on many boards in Bedford, including Bedford Main Street, Rotary, Bug, and the Bedford Moose Lodge. He also served on the Brookneal Town Council for 4 years for a combined 12 years of experience in government affairs. He's currently the Vice President of the Bauer Center of the Arts and has served with the Bedford Fire Department for 8 years. He is also on the town's electric committee and chairman of the Public Safety Committee. In all of his spare time, he likes to read, work on cars, and watch the History Channel. Mr. Hartwick, Bruce Hartwick. He is seeking a 4-year town council term after running twice before. Born and raised in Michigan, where he grew up hunting, fishing, and participating in winter sports, Bruce then moved to Virginia and graduated from Liberty University and is now employed in the financial services industry as an independent life insurance broker with Mass Mutual. He enjoys hiking and the outdoors in Bedford. Bruce Johannesson. Mr. Johannesson is a Roanoke native and has been a resident of Bedford for 20 years. He is a graduate of Emory and Henry College and did graduate work at both Virginia Commonwealth University and Hollins University. He has worked for 49 years in administrative positions for the Virginia Employment Commission in Lynchburg and Roanoke, or in those areas, and previously served on Bedford's Economic Development Committee. After serving a 4-year council term, Johannesson is seeking re-election for an unexpired term that will last 2 years. Brian Sly. Mr. Sly is seeking his 2nd term on town council and is a Central Virginia native and a graduate of the University of Lynchburg. Brian is married to his lovely wife Ashley and has 1 stepson who is attending LSU and 1 daughter attending Timberlake Christian. He is a partner in a construction company as well as a development company. He volunteers as a football coach at Liberty High School and is president of the Minutemen Club. He enjoys hunting and fishing and road trips to LSU, but living in Bedford is his passion. And last but not least is C.G. Stanley. Mr. Stanley served on town council from 2000 through 2013 before taking a hiatus. He was appointed to town council in a special election to fill an unexpired term. Mr. Stanley is now seeking re-election for a 4-year term. Now retired from his 34 career from Appalachian Power Company, he wants to focus on serving his community as a council member. He currently works part-time for Virginia ABC in Bedford and enjoys camping, photography, and spending time with his grandchildren. Now I'll turn it over to Eric.
And thank you very much. Get the mask off here. Joys of living during the coronavirus. So, gentlemen, thank you all for being here. I'm going to be laying down the ground rules for tonight's debate. You'll all have 4 minutes for your opening statements, then 2 minutes during the question and answer period. We'll be going down the line. Mr. Black, please stand. We'll start with you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Miller. On behalf of the candidates and myself tonight, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for having us out this evening to discuss our candidacy for town council. A little bit more about myself. I'm a native of Bedford. I was born here, graduated from Liberty High School quite a few years ago. Attended and graduated from James Madison University with a bachelor's degree in business administration, majoring in finance and minoring in economics. After graduating from James Madison, I entered the finance and banking world. Spent about 30 years doing that as a commercial lender. Recently, in the past year, I decided to make a career change, and I'm now working as a trust and estate accountant and administrator for a law firm in Roanoke. This is my start. I've been on council for 2 terms. I was elected to a 2-year term and then a 4-year term. I currently serve as chairman of the Finance Committee and a member of the Economic Development Committee and a member of the Property Committee. In the past, I've served on chairman of the Electric Committee, I'm sorry. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments our council has accomplished in the last 4 years. I think we've got a good team, and we've done some pretty amazing things. Obviously, one of the big accomplishments and that we all spent a lot of time and energy on over the last couple of years is the Bedford Middle School project. That's going to be a transformative project, I believe, for the town, with 60 new apartments and a boutique hotel. Spent a lot of time and effort on that project and making sure we got that right. Some of the other things we've done, this council is very pro-business and spends a lot of effort on economic development. And that is reflected in the fact we've hired an economic development coordinator, Ms. Zirkle, in the past term, as well as reconstituting our town economic development authority. In addition to that, we entered a process to kind of rebrand the town, hired a firm out of South Carolina, and in the process, that is driving a lot of our decision making on how we're going to maintain the character of Bedford, but also move it forward in the future. A couple things that I think we need to kind of concentrate on moving forward is to continue economic development. That's always going to be the number one priority, trying to find ways, like every town in America, to bring new jobs to your area. One of the things that I would like to see us concentrate on is try to develop a strategy for our old industrial base, how we can either redevelop that going forward. One of the other things that we've concentrated on is our electric utility. I think everybody knows we have our municipal electric utility, and we are continuing to make progress on cutting costs there, and hope to help the customers out with some rate reductions here in the very near future. And that's pretty much it right now. Thank you, and I appreciate your vote on November 3rd. Appreciate your support in the past, and would love to serve you for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Fantastic. Mr. Black, thank you very much. Should have said before, be looking down here to Ms. Mary Zirkle, our Town Economic Development Coordinator. She's got the clock. Most of y'all are familiar with local government. You know what that means. 30 seconds comes around and start trying to wrap up those remarks. Move on. Mr. Haley, please stand. Give your opening statement.
I just want to thank Wendy and the Chamber for having this event, and thank you, Mr. Miller, for hosting, being the coordinator here. Like I said, Pam gave a lot of what we had, a lot of what we are so far in the introduction that we had. So to start off, I was in the reversion part back in 13, so actually this is probably my 5th time running for council or whatever, because they triggered 2 elections back in 13 and 14 or whatever. So over the other terms, like I said, there's, like Mr. Black spoken about, the Bedford Middle School and stuff like that. That was one of our major projects. We spent a lot of time on this last couple of years to try to get done. Hopefully that will transpire sometime around the first of the year or whatever. So, and then also serving on different committees in the town and stuff like that, where I'm on the electric committee now, I'm here to public safety. I've served on several of the committees that we have in the town, like the KBBC and stuff like that. We take and focus on different things in town that we try to do by hiring an economic development person. We did hire a code enforcement person too, or whatever, to help upcode some of the buildings downtown and around the area, so it keeps stuff going, so it make it easy for an economic person to move forward. And like I said, we hired a new town manager a couple of years ago or whatever, so we have a great staff here. The staff gives us great information to make right decisions for our town or whatever. And then infrastructure, we've been working on infrastructure in the town for several years now. We're trying to get the infrastructure caught up, sidewalks, bridges, et cetera, throughout the town. And electric wires, there's a lot of stuff that we had to do a lot of catching up over the years since I've been on council or whatever. And that's what we've been doing, is trying to build the infrastructure and move forward so it would make it a great place for people to live. Now, one day we do need to focus on is coming up, the second part of the version is 2023. We need to sit down and figure out what direction we need to go in, how we can provide services to the people we're taking into the town and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff that we got going, good stuff that's going in this town that we actually are moving forward. And we're being as transparency as we can in this town to the people, the businesses and stuff like that. We went through a hard time this year with COVID and stuff like that, 19. We try to do what we can to help our businesses, help our employees and stuff like that. So we are pro. We are moving forward. We do the best we can to try to make this was a great little town to live in. So we don't have no, like I said, we're just got to figure out some things that we got to move forward to. I think when the new version, I think it shows that we have about 6,300 people now. When the new reversion comes, we're gonna have that around 9,000 people. So it's a lot going on in town that I wish more people would come to the meetings and see what we're actually doing and what we actually are trying to accomplish in this town. Thank you.
Mr. Hanley, thank you very much. Mr. Hardwick, please stand.
Okay, good evening, everyone. And I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting on this forum and Mary Zirka for helping organize it. Okay, a little bit about me. I originally am from Michigan. I grew up in Michigan. I come from a very prominent family. My family was huge in the lumber industry up in Michigan. My great-great-great-grandfather came here from Denmark, started a lumber company several generations later. He ended up having a really nice house in Detroit. You've probably seen it on TV before. My grandfather started an architectural firm years ago. He was very influential in the state of Michigan. I'm looking to bring that kind of influence here to the town of Bedford to make better Bedford than what was right now. I obviously graduated from Liberty University. Another thing about me is I work in the financial services industry. I'm licensed to sell life insurance, health insurance, as well as certain kinds of annuities. I am appointed with Mass Mutual as a broker, which is like an independent agent. Plus, I'm also with United Life, Medico, among a few other companies as well. Now, to briefly summarize my platform, what I want to do if I'm elected to the town council. Number one, I'm going to keep taxes low. I want to bring more jobs, more businesses, more industry. Tourism is great and it helps our town, but I think we can bring more jobs, more industry. We need more factories here, more shops here, and I'm going to do everything I can to help bring more businesses into the town. Transparency is another thing that I'm really big on. I believe that the people, you're actually our bosses, not the other way around, and you deserve to know what is going on, and you don't deserve to be kept in the dark. And I'm going to promote our Bedford boys. I believe the ultimate way to really honor the Bedford boys is to make Bedford great again, get our economy moving, have it as great as it was, if not better than before they left to fight in D-Day and give their lives for their country. November the 3rd, when you go into the voting booth, if you haven't already, I encourage you to please consider voting for me on November the 3rd or before. Thank you.
Mr. Hardwick, thank you very much. Mr. Johannesson.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting on this forum today. We really appreciate it. I think hopefully more folks in the Bedford area are hearing what the town council does. It's an important body that takes care of the business in this town. Folks don't really understand at times that you have more influence in the town than you do anywhere else as far as voting and making sure things happen. I've been on town council for 4 years, and during that 4 years, I think we've gotten into some excellent situations. We have the middle school that we're working on that project today, and that middle school will be a very good increase in our economic development for the town. I have participated in economic development for most of my career with the Virginia Employment Commission, and I still to this day do things with them. As serving on council, I serve on the Central Virginia Planning District Board to bring economic development to the entire area of Campbell County, Bedford County, Bedford. That's part of what we do, and I'd like to continue in doing that particular part of this job. There are some developments that I would also like to see happen. We bought more property in Liberty Lake, which is an excellent development, but we need to develop some of those things that we've done with it, buying that property. The Liberty Lake has become a real center for this town to do various activities. It's recently been used for a number of things. Our ball fields and other projects have come from that facility. I serve on the road committee for this town, and that includes the sidewalks. I'd like to see more development of our roads. I'd like to see the sidewalk projects completed and worked on. We've had an updating of our dam and the other electric facilities for this town. We still have work to do. We've come a long way with the development, but there's still projects at our dam on the James River that we still need to complete. We have an excellent staff who work on that today, and I think they're making real progress, but I'd like to see further progress on updating of our dam and other electric systems. Final thing is, we have some space problems with some of our staff. I know our police department right now is having a crunch on how much that they have available to them. They need some better facilities to help them do their job. We have an excellent police department, and I'd like to make sure that we're paying those guys to keep them on the job. We lose a lot of those folks to other law enforcement, but I'd like to see us increase their pay and keep them here in Bedford rather than training a bunch of guys and then losing them. So I'm going to stop right there, and since I got 12 seconds left. Go ahead.
Mr. Johannesson, thank you. Mr. Sly.
First of all, thank you for the chamber and you for moderating as well. I wish I could borrow your voice, because I'm pretty sure anything I say would sound pretty good like that. But I can say over the past 4 years, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve the town of Bedford, but also to serve with the gentlemen that are up here with Tim and Stacy, Bruce, and CG coming on recently. I was appointed chair of the electric committee three years ago, and I can say going into that, I was extremely novice when it came to electric, but learning that, I think we've accomplished some pretty amazing things in a short period of time, which will allow us in the near future to start looking at possibility of lowering electric rates. I think it's a major advantage for us economic development-wise to own our own electric. The town people have a lot of say-so in that. We can use that as a tool to attract more businesses. I've also been fortunate enough to serve with Tim and the mayor on the finance committee. Something I'm more proud of than anything is the budgets we've been able to put together. Over the last 4 years, we've actually shrunk our overall budget, which I think is impressive. But not only that, we've been able to pay off debt as well. So it's a pretty big accomplishment, and it doesn't come from just talking about it. It comes from us sitting down and doing the hard work and having an amazing staff here that does that work with us. And we can't thank them enough. We have a very hardworking staff. We've worked on many projects like the middle school. Very proud of that. I think that's going to be a feature here in Bedford for years to come. I think that's going to benefit us well. I've also worked as chair of the Economic Development Committee as well. We've got a long way to go with that, but I think starting with a budget and making sure we were financially sound allows us to be able to be more aggressive in bringing in economic development to the town. I look forward to serving another 4 years for my community if you would support me on November 3rd, and I would appreciate your vote. Thanks.
Just a lot. Thank you. Last but not least, Mrs. Stanley.
Bringing up the rear. Again, I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this and everybody that showed up. I will say we are having a council meeting next Tuesday. If you all want to come back, you're more than welcome. We need some people to show up. I'm probably the new kid on the block, so I don't have as much to say about, or accomplishments to talk about as they do, but we'll give you a little bio about my background and what I've done so far. Of course, I'm C.G. Stanley Jr. I go by C.G. My dad was Clarence G. Stanley Jr. He owned and operated Stanley Electric in Bedford all his life until retirement. My mom was Virginia H. Hatcher. She worked Stanley, Virginia H. Stanley. She worked at Bedford Circuit Courthouse a good part of her life, and she retired as clerk of the Circuit Court. I am a lifelong resident of Bedford. Been here all my life. I actually was born in Bedford at the old John Russell Hospital, corner of Oak Street and Baltimore Avenue, which is now a vacant lot. I don't know if it was torn down after I was born or not. I don't know what that was all about, but again, I graduated from Liberty High School in 1972, attended CVCC, then worked 2 years for the Bedford Electric Department. After that, I went into the United States Air Force, 1975, served 4 years there, then came back, and a short time later, went to work at Appalachian Power. So with exception of 4 years, I've been here all my life. I know Bedford, understand Bedford, and I love Bedford, and I'm not going anywhere. But anyway, I'm a lifelong member of Bedford Baptist Church, been married for 35 years to my wife, the former Glenda Wilkerson back there. I have 2 sons, Cliff and Carson. Of course, they are married and live in Roanoke and Vienna, Virginia, respectively. And our sons attended Bedford County Schools, Liberty High School, and both attended James Madison University and graduated from there. Go Dukes. In addition to serving on City Council from 2000 to around 2013, I previously served as Scoutmaster of Boy Scouts Troop 171 and 145, and also an Amen Eagle Scout. I was a Little League recreation football coach for 10 years for Bedford City Parks and Rec, and coached 2 years for the Liberty High School B team. When our boys were in school, my wife and I were very active PTA and Liberty High School boosters. I believe in this town. And giving back is what I've tried to do a good part of my adult life. Now, as far as the town, I believe in change and growth if it benefits our community. Our world is changing, and we have to adapt while still maintaining the small town environment that we enjoy. What will I do for Bedford? Number one, I will support the staff and all employees. I believe every employee has a skill set that can benefit the success of the town of Bedford. It's kind of like a team. We all work together. I'm committed to keeping the tax base as low as possible while maintaining the good quality of life we have. Of course, every year brings a different challenge, just like us. Who would have thought last year this time we would still be wearing masks? Crazy. But anyway, I'm very approachable, and to me, there is no dumb or stupid idea. Bedford has a rich, proud history. That's why the D-Day Memorial's here. It's an honor to live in Bedford and an honor and privilege to serve on town council. I was on town council previously for the reversion. And another thing, the Oakwood Villas, I'm also very proud of. Thank you. Would appreciate your vote and support.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley, and thank you all once again for your opening remarks. We'll move to our question and answer session in advance. They were submitted by the citizens of Bedford, chosen by our Chamber of Commerce representatives here. So we'll be going down the line. Everyone will have a chance to respond. Mr. Black, start off with you once again. Some of you have mentioned reducing taxes within the town. You do reduce taxes. How do you provide the same level of service to the citizens? How do you care for town employees with lower funding? And how are you planning for the growth through 2023 while lowering taxes? Mr. Black.
Thank you. The level of taxes we charge our citizens is always an important consideration during the budget process. Nobody likes paying taxes, but everybody wants the services the revenue provides. So that makes it our job to balance those competing views. I've advocated for tax cuts in the past, and I've supported tax increases in the past. I think it's all dependent on the projected needs of the community and the town and the current economic climate that you're operating in. I consider myself to be one of the most fiscally conservative people on this council in the past. I believe the best way to lower taxes on the businesses and the residents in our community is to grow your tax base. Create a bigger pie is the way to do that. And I know that I and the rest of the council have put policies in place and will continue to support this kind of thinking. I mentioned some of those in my opening remark by hiring an economic development coordinator. We created an incentive program for business investment. We reformed the Town Economic Development Authority. We supported redevelopment projects. Most importantly, one thing I'm kind of proud of, because I kind of spearheaded the effort, was the $215,000 in business grants during the COVID crisis that we put out for the small business community. That was pretty impressive for a town our size, way ahead of a lot of the thinking of other people. Going forward, some of the things we're working on that are going to help in the economic development world is we're in the process of rewriting our zoning ordinance. Hopefully, we're going to make that simpler, and that will help maybe with some business development. Mentioned previously, we're going to continue to work on lowering our electric costs and expand improvements in infrastructure and public spaces. Those are the things I think will help us grow our tax base moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stanley.
All right. Again, what Tim just said is kind of the nucleus of it, but taxes from year to year is something we have to look at according to the budget. And just like this year, who would have known the coronavirus was going to have this big of an impact on our budget and so forth, although we have done very well. Usually, electric rates, taxes, and things along those lines are what people kind of expect. And usually, when we get into the budget season, I'll get questions, okay, what's going to be the tax rate, personal property tax rate, and so forth. But still, I think we do a great job of keeping taxes low. I think in my previous years on council, we only had to raise the tax rate one time, and that was only 1 cent. And it was during I think, 07, 08, when the recession hit us pretty hard. But nonetheless, I am very conservative as far as taxes. I will do my best, as I said earlier, of keeping the tax rate as low as possible. I don't like paying taxes any more than anybody else here, but I will do my best. And again, I am open for people to talk to me and give me their opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Stanley, thank you. Mr. Haley.
Since I've been on council, I think we increased the meal tax 1%, and a couple of years ago, we decreased the real estate tax from 32 cents to 31 cents. So, but in the process of doing that, the question is, how do we move forward? Like some of the other council people said, we have to look at each year's budget. We have to see what's going to happen, what's going to come down the pipe. Actually, this year we had a balanced budget. So the whole point is we need to take every situation every year. It's like when we take in the new reversion part in 2023. We're going to increase more tax base coming into the town. So possibly we can do more dams and stuff like that, because the other people will come into their reversion part of the town. You know, no one wants to raise taxes, no one wants to do nothing like that. But, you know, it's like every year situation I've seen when I first got on council, it was a struggle to get the budget to a point, to balance. But last couple of years, because of staff giving us the correct information, looking out for different contracts and stuff like that, electric contracts that came up that we renewed and stuff like that, hopefully we can help lower the light bills coming up next month with the CPA, the cost power adjustment or whatever for the town folks. So it's just really, it's every year you have to look at different situations, different stuff, what we're trying to do. It's like we hire an economic developer and a code enforcer. We have to make sure that we can move forward by economic development to get new businesses, to create more taxes, to create more revenue for the town or whatever. And that's what we have to do sometimes. So.
Mr. Haley, thank you. Mr. Sly.
You know, I've said earlier that the budget is probably the thing I'm most proud of that this council has done. One of the things that I've cautioned against in the past, and I'll say in the future, I think our rate is pretty close to what it needs to be to provide the level of service that our citizens have come to expect. Since 2014, we've gone from 30 to 32 back to 31. So I think we have found our happy medium. This is kind of where we need to be, I think, for the future. And in order to have a stable future, we've got to have a stable budget. And I think that having that rate at a comfortable rate that I think works for everybody is what has given us a starting point of setting our budgets. One of the things I'm most proud of is since 2017, 18, and 19, we've won the Governor's Finance Officers Association Distinguished Award for Budget because of the hard work we put in. We put in a lot of hours on the budget to make sure that we're covering our citizens with the services. One of the things that I'm most proud of this particular year is how lean our budget was. Our staff went to work because they knew we wanted to do projects in the future to move Bedford forward. We didn't want to go in debt to do so. So we started pinching pennies and making sure we had the leanest budget we could have, and we did that. Just so happens the pandemic came along, and this council didn't have to go crazy to try to find money. We were fiscally sound, we knew we did the right thing, and we didn't have to go crazy over a budget. We had already produced a lean budget, so that's what I'm proud of. I think we engage with our citizens on taxes, and we try to take that information and give the best budget we can going forward. So,
Thanks, sir. Mr. Harwood.
Okay. Now the question involves services and taxes, and of course, once we incorporate more people into the town, well, I can tell you this much. Yeah, some people on council said, yeah, we've cut taxes, but more could have been done. Look, we need more industry here. We need more factories. We need more jobs. And I do believe that the best way to bring more revenue in is not by raising taxes. Worst case scenario is I'm going to say, hey, we're going to keep everything the same right now. Best case scenario is if there's an opportunity to cut taxes, I will do that, because I believe if you expand tax base and you have a lower tax rate, that brings more revenue in. There are two presidents that believe that. JFK and Ronald Reagan both believed in that. And before making a decision on the taxes in regards to reversion, I have to see what happens first when we expand in 2023 before I can really make a decision. Thank you.
Mr. Harwood, thank you. Mr. Johansson.
What's the old saying? One thing, sure thing in this life is death and taxes, and we're seeing a lot of that today. I'm fiscally conservative in my approach to taxes, and I think it has to be considered every year when we develop our budget. And the council has been very, very good about sitting down and trying to figure out what money we have and what we can do with it. Assessments obviously cause us at times, when assessments go up, it causes questions as to how much money we're taking in with regard to the 31 cents set rate. I won't say that we'll never raise taxes, and I won't say that we can cut them. I think you have to look at it on a year-by-year basis and be very careful. We have managed in this town to, when we were a city, we had a very deep debt. And since that time, since reversion, we have moved getting rid almost of half of our debt. So you can't continue to make debt and not pay it off. And I think that's one of the things that we've tried to do, is to make sure that we pay off our debts and get us down to a reasonable level. When you do that, you free up money for other things to do. And I'm hoping that as long as we remain conservative, we can do some of the projects that we need to do for this town and do job development for the people of this town. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Question number 2. Town landfill, as you all know, is closing soon. How will that closing affect the services that the town is able to provide for its citizens? And how will the growth of the town affect those services as that landfill gets closed? Mr. Hanley, we'll start with you.
Well, we started the closure of the landfill about 3 years ago. Landfill is to its life right now, so that's why we have to go in the process of closing the landfill. I was on the streets committee and stuff back in when we was talking about closing the landfill. In the process of closing the landfill, the services is not going to change. We're still going to have people to pick the trash up. We're still going to have a drop-off place down at the landfill. The only thing that's really going to change is where we have a private company hauling our trash. So in the process, that's going to save us money in the process of doing that, by having that private company haul trash instead of paying employees and buying equipment and stuff like that. So when it comes down to services, I think at the end of the question it said where the new people coming into the town, you know, when the new people come into town, they have, we start receiving that tax pay, that's going to help pay for new budget, looking at buying a new trash truck, buying cans, buying, getting some new employees to provide the service to the new people in town that's coming into town. Because that's what we have to do, because we have to extend that service to them just as well as any other citizen in the town. So in the process of doing that, we're looking in the next couple budgets and see what we need to do to move forward in 2023 for the trash pickup. Because that includes also snow removal and stuff like that too. And brush removal, like we have fall cleanup and spring cleanup weeks during that week. They will provide that service just like anyone else will. But the landfill, it's going to be the same, other than we won't be hauling the trash. That's pretty much what it's going to boil down to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sly.
Yeah, just talk a little bit about, like, kind of what Stacy was saying. I want to make sure people understand. The landfill itself is not closing. The fill part of it is. So there's nothing that changes for our citizens. You wake up at 9 o'clock, you want to go take your trash over to our landfill, you're going to pull across the scale, you're going to go into a transfer station and dump your trash just like you would any other day. None of that's going to change. We have no plans of changing that in the near future. The only part is we're not going to dump it exactly there. We'll haul it somewhere else, but no rates are going up or anything like that. Our staff has worked extremely hard to find ways to cut cost in that. So the landfill itself will still be open. I believe it's from 8 to noon every day, Monday through Friday, and I believe Saturday as well. So you can still go across the scales and dump your trash there. So nothing's going to change for our citizens. And again, that's due to the hard work for public safety, coming up with innovative ways to deal with our trash, things like that. We've been able to keep the rates the same and the service the same. So just want to make sure there's no confusion there, that, you know, we're not getting rid of that service to our town. And that includes when we do the annexation and take in, they'll be the same way. People still pick up your trash, you can still go to the landfill.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Harwick.
Okay, based on all the information available to me at the time, town council's meeting minutes and related news articles, it's my understanding that in the near future, the county will continue to provide waste removal for residents at no additional cost. However, the landfill is still a developing situation and things could change. It is an expensive endeavor in general, since the price of transporting the waste to other regional locations for the next 35 years was estimated to be $173 million. That could change over time. Regarding the effects that this could have on the expansion 2023, it seems certainly possible that the county could seek to renegotiate the current agreement as more residents are added. If this does occur, continue to work with the Bedford County is not our only option. Recently, the town went with Bay's trash removal when it came to removing the trash, of course, while also saving the town $200,000 a year on removal expenses. This is proof that we need to negotiate the best possible deal that we can in order to save the people of the town of Bedford money, which is who we're ultimately responsible to.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Johannesson.
Maybe I should have said death, taxes, and trash. That's something that our council has spent a great deal of time talking about our trash situation. Landfills have a date that they no longer can be filled, and we have to take responsibility. We'll be working on our, we look at our, these trash sites, and we have to take care of them for a number of years. And we've done the things that we need to do to take care of them. D.W. Lawhorn is our main guy that takes care of this, and D.W. has done a great job of both making sure we do the right things and the negotiation with others. I don't think there's going to be any change for the citizens either in Bedford that we have now, the 6,000 citizens that we have, or when we in 2023 when we have another 3,000. It's not going to change for those folks. As Brian said, we're going to be using our trash facility and our site to compact it and send it off to other places. And hopefully we can keep the charges down. But trash is a big problem for a lot of municipalities, and I hope it doesn't become a real problem for us.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stanley.
Thank you. I pretty much echo what everybody else has said here. It will not affect the residents. The landfill will still be open for people to bring their trash, go across the scale, be weighed, and if, depending on the weight, you may pay, may not. And the brush will still be able to be taken to the back part. Trash pickup will still be as normal. The only difference is bays will come, pick the trash up, take it, transfer it to another site. So really, the residents and future annex, they will not be affected. Now, moving forward, I was involved on previous councils with the monitoring of the previous landfill, and it can get a little dicey at times. So once the landfill is closed, we'll be given the task of monitoring for lactate and all that from years down the road. But as far as the current residents, they will not be affected in any way, shape, or form. Thank you.
Sir. Mr. Black.
Thank you. Like everyone said, the closing of our current sale at the current landfill down on Orange Street is underway. The cap is about 50% complete on the construction of that. They've started the ladder this week, so we're well on our way on closing that site. One thing I would like everybody to remember is that the reversion agreement requires that Bedford County accept our residential solid waste at no cost to the town. We continue to deliver our residential trash to Bedford County for disposal, and there will be no change in the way we've been conducting business after this landfill is closed. we'll continue to deal with our residential trash in that manner. As some have alluded to, we recently worked out a very favorable agreement for our commercial trash hauling with a local contractor to haul our solid waste for free. They're hauling our commercial solid waste for free. And the disposal prices that we have gotten are substantially better than what we were previously paying. So that's going to improve the financials of our solid waste enterprise fund. Finally, the thing I'd like to point out is previous councils and this council, we had $3 million in reserve for closing this landfill. The money was there. Most everybody's borrowing money to close landfills. We've got the money sitting in the bank. After getting the bids for the contract, we came in at $1.7 million construction to close it. We saved $1.4 million over what the other bids were. So that's money we've got set aside in our solid waste fund, putting us on pretty solid footing. Like everyone said, after the boundary adjustment, we're going to provide curbside pickup for everyone in those neighborhoods. We're going to provide them with twice yearly cleanups, brush collection, just like the current residents in the town get now. So there will be no change that I see in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, round three, halfway there, gentlemen. In planning for the growth of the boundaries in 2023, how do you plan on providing the citizens in the areas that the town will annex with the services that the town residents deserve with the higher tax rate? Mr. Hartwick, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. Okay, just by everybody here, will tell you that they support lower taxes. And you know what, under normal circumstances, lower taxes will definitely help us bring more jobs, more businesses into the community. But unfortunately, we got tossed a little curveball this past year with the COVID-19. I mean, how many of us would have ever predicted COVID-19 would do what it has done? And what we had to do was businesses needed grants to help them keep their doors open, keep the lights on, make payroll. We have to take care of our small businesses first and foremost when they need help. If it means give them grants, we'll do that. And we also need to look at what happens with the annexation. These are things that we don't really have the answers to just yet, but we will soon. I am going to advocate for lower taxes when the time is appropriate, because I really believe that if we can expand the base, bring more industry in, more jobs, more people into the town of Bedford paying a lower tax rate, that can ultimately bring more jobs, more money into the town of Bedford versus raising taxes all the time and shrinking the tax base. Look, up in Michigan, we had a governor that was tax and spend all the time. She believed in raising taxes, spending more money, raise taxes, spend more money. I don't want to do that. I've seen the impact that has on a state. I've seen the impact it has on communities. And I want what's best for my town, the town of Bedford.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Johansson.
For the new annexation area, which will happen in 2023, which is a couple of years apart, we've already begun to talk about what we have to do for those folks. We're going to have to provide the same services that the town people get today, and I think we can do that. We have been putting money aside and making sure that we have additional money to take care of certain problems that are going to develop when we take in that new area. And I think by being fiscally responsible and keeping some money in the bank, we're going to be able to handle those folks without a great deal of problems. But it is going to take some planning and some development on the part of the whole council to do that. I'll quit.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Slide.
The annexation will take place again in 2023. And I just kind of want to go over some of the services, because that's really what the question is all about, is what services are you going to be getting for your extra tax dollars. So, we can pretty much draw that line fairly easily. We have a police department here that can react in a pretty quick manner, being as small as their town is. But not just that, it's the community policing that they do. So you'll have that service. You have infrastructure, lights, sidewalks, things like that will be part of the plan of the annexation that you can take advantage of, as well as our parks, brush cleanup, street sweeping, things like that to keep our community clean. Those are some of the services, as well as snow removal. Fire and rescue is also, even though we have a volunteer fire department, the town commits a large financial sum to that department on a regular basis. Just recently, I believe it was over a $500,000 commitment to the volunteer fire department for a pumper truck. So that's a service that's provided to the new people annexation that will be coming in. So we do provide services. Our offices are open. During the pandemic, we had staff here working. We're always trying to work hard. Our staff works extremely hard, wears a lot of different hats. I can say after the reversion, we've lost a lot of employees, and instead of hiring, our staff just took on the extra work so that we didn't have to raise taxes. We have an extremely innovative staff. They're always trying to find ways to serve our community better. And this council works extremely hard at that too. And we can say to those citizens that we'll work hard for them. I promise you, we'll work as hard for them as we do for the current citizens that we have. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Stanley.
Thank you. Well, pretty much, again, what the others have said. Moving forward with the phase 2 of the reversion, the people in the phase 2 annexation will also get what the current town employees get. Trash pickup, additional police protection, fire, street cleaning, snow removal. But moving forward, I would think at some point, especially around the North Hills area, which is going to be probably the biggest part of the annex, we'll probably have some town hall meetings, things of that nature, to let the residents come in, talk to us, and just ask a question and answer period would be my thought on that. Because they're going to have a lot of questions. Of course, I live close to that area, and I'm already hearing a lot of it, different places. I run into people on the sidewalk, at church, different places. They say, okay, what am I going to get in addition to what I already have? Well, street lights at some point in time, probably sidewalks. Sidewalks do take a little bit longer than some of the other things, but they will see an increase in services, and I think overall it'll be much better for them.
Mr. Black.
Thank you. So with the boundary adjustment in 2023, we've talked to staff about going ahead and start doing some analysis and some planning already. We would like to see get an estimate of what kind of revenues we expect to get out of that tax base and what kind of additional expenses we're going to have so that we can start planning for that. A lot of the services, like everyone has said, they expect the same services that the rest of the town is going to get, and it's our job to provide it to them at the most efficient way. Some of the examples of some of those benefits, we mentioned the town police, but I'd like to talk a little bit more about the town police. Right now, after that boundary adjustment, the town police would be the first responders in those areas instead of the sheriff's department. So that's going to improve our response time when things are happening in those areas. The town police is going to regularly patrol those neighborhoods, providing enhanced safety and a deterrent to crime. And the town police will be able to enhance traffic safety in those neighborhoods with their routine presence. Fire department, that's been mentioned before, we have an excellent volunteer fire department that is funded very substantially by the town. And those county residents get the benefit of that right now without contributing as much to the upkeep and the training and the equipment that our department provides. Solid waste, we talked about that a little bit in the last question. Infrastructure and road maintenance. The biggest thing there is the town is going to receive additional VDOT funds to help pay for those things. Road paving, sidewalks, stormwater projects, snow removal, all that stuff. Sounds like that's services that we're going to provide that's going to require more tax dollars, but we're going to get more VDOT funding to help offset that. So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Haley.
like some of the other council people said, is gonna boil down to services. Like I said, we have to look at what we're gonna bring in on tax base. And it's like Mr. Black said on VDOT and stuff like that. We do get funds from VDOT to help do these projects throughout the town. So in the process, sidewalk, street lights, trash pickup, snow removal, police and fire services and stuff like that, we'll be providing all this to the people that's coming into the town and help and it's just gonna take time to get everything that we need to get done out there in different parts of the Danko. We have part up off of 122, and then we have the part behind the hospital that's gonna come into the town. So in the process of doing that, it's gonna take planning with our staff, planning with the council people, everything that we need to sit down and work at a plan how we're gonna move forward on everything in the next couple of budget sessions. So that's all I have to say, because pretty much everybody else has covered the whole process.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Question number 4 here. Nationwide, there has been a movement to defund the police. Do you support that movement here in Bedford? If you do, how do you ensure that the police continue to provide necessary services here in the town? If you oppose the movement, how do you believe that those funds should be used? Why is it important that that funding be maintained? Mr. Stanley, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Well, to me, that's not a hard question to answer. Number one, you go through the interview process. You see their background, do the check, but first of all, I'm opposed to defunding any police department, especially in Bedford. I would not vote for that. But if you get employees in here, you train them, also in customer services, you get them trained to how to handle adverse situations. And I think our Chief of Police, Todd, has done a great job of that. I've talked to him a number of times, and he has said he trains his employees on how to arrest people, what not to do, as we've seen in other states. But the main thing is when you get new employees, get them trained, and get them on their own, you want to keep them. So how do you do that? You reward them with additional pay raises, keep them here, because what they're going to do, they're going to go to other law enforcement places, somewhere in the county, other cities, other towns. That's what's going to happen. So, and I say that because they'll say, I've been there, done that. I had 28 employees that I supervised in my previous career. You get good employees, you want to keep them, but you reward them. Let them know they're doing a great job, and keep the training up where they know how to deal with irate customers. They know how to handle adverse situations. But training is the main thing, continuous training. But also, the tie that binds is the paycheck. So keep rewarding them with COLA increases and all things like that, benefits.
Mr. Black.
Thank you. I agree with CJ. I oppose any movement to defund the town of Bedford Police Department. Our police department is an active participant in our community. They're constantly attending public events, working closely with our citizens to ensure a safe community. Their presence amongst our children in an effort to create long-lasting relationships that will benefit the well-being of our town. Some examples of that are their annual cop camp they put on with the Sheriff's Department, the National Night Out events they host, their presence at Hoop Kids and Bedford mentoring events. The list can go on and on. Our police department is a professional, well-trained organization. Chief Foreman and his officers are to be commended for the job they do for us. I thank them for their dedication and commitment to Bedford and all of us. They are a certified department. Chief Foreman is a forward-thinking leader and continues to provide our officers with new opportunities for career development and training. Recruiting and keeping police officers, especially in today's climate, is a difficult job. In addition to providing a competitive salary and benefits, we must seek additional means to support our men and women in blue. One initiative we recently supported is to create a career development path for patrol officers, whereby with enhanced training and experience, they will have the ability to grow as an officer and earn additional compensation. With the recent legislation in Richmond to cut funding to local police departments, We will be impacted, but not as severely as I anticipated. I spoke to Chief Foreman, and it looks like we may lose approximately $25,000 in state funding, but this will not put a burden on our budget, and we will be able to cover this cost. Finally, in the very near future, and I think Bruce alluded to it in his opening remarks, council in our community is going to have to discuss funding a new police facility. The current facility they're in, which has been in use since the 1970s, is outdated and inadequate to the needs of a modern-day police department. And that's a project I will support. Once again, I appreciate all the men and women of the Bedford Police Department and what they do on a daily basis to ensure the safety and well-being for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Jadison.
Oh. I thought it was you, didn't I?
Oh, we're going back and forth. Got to keep you all on your toes.
Keep funding of police. In no way am I in support of that for this town. If anything, I'd like to see a little bit more money put to our police department. Todd does a great job of training his staff and keeping them on the job. But he has some turnover, and it's turnover because other police departments offer more money. And I'd like to see that we don't lose some of these really good people that we've lost. They do need some new facilities, and I'd be in support of that. And particularly, if we're going to take in another 3,000 citizens, there's going to be a need for more policemen rather than less. So we're going to have to look at that very closely. The other thing that I'd like to see is currently, if there's a mental health case that needs to be taken to a facility, our police department has to take one of their people and have that person off the job, and it causes scheduling problems for Todd. I'd like to see us somehow develop something that, other than a police officer having to do that, I think it should be a mental health person of some kind rather than a police officer taking away from the safety of the town. So that's an interesting problem that comes about from time to time, and it shouldn't come about. Police shouldn't have to be taking people to mental institutions. That should be somebody else doing that. I'll stop. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Harwick.
Okay, glad you asked that question. Okay, for the record, I do not support defunding the police. They have a difficult job to do to keep us safe. Our soldiers, they keep us safe abroad. Our police officers, they keep us safe here in our communities. And not only do we have a great police department in the town of Bedford, but I've noticed they've also been partnering with our sheriff's department. I believe if we add that into the community policing, that's going to make a world of a difference. But what's also going to maybe make things safer and make their jobs easier is if we can attract new businesses here, get more factories, get more businesses, have more revenue coming in. Not only can they be better funded, but if the poverty rate goes from 25% to a lower number, guess what? We're going to be safer as well. From talking to a few people, one of the top things going on as far as crime is concerned in the town of Bedford is mostly break-ins, robberies, theft, pretty much property crime. If we got that poverty rate reduced by bringing more businesses and more jobs into the town of Bedford, not only will it make us safer, but will also be better for the police officers as well. They'll feel safer as well. And as your member of the town council, I will make sure that our police department is funded, fully funded as is needed. Thank you.
Mr. Haley.
Speaking about our police department, I would never, ever put defund our police department or any police department across the state or in the country. Since the speaking of Chief Foreman is one of the best chiefs that we've had in that department down there for years. He takes time to spend time with his officers, help his officers train. He helps them get to where they need to be in the process of moving forward. He has come up with some great ideas and stuff to help them to succeed in that job downstairs. And like I said, the police department, when you call them, they're there. That's how equipped our police department is. We have one of the best police departments in the area, I think, and we do what we can to fund our police department every year and make sure that they have the equipment and the cars and the stuff that they need to do that job properly. Now, this has been spoken in accounts, some of the other people spoke about Todd and his community thing. When you see one of our Bedford police officers, you can walk up to them, they smile, they're friendly, they're very happy to see a citizen, walk up to them and say hello or whatever. They involve in many events that we have in the town, like National Night Out. They're always at most of the events that we have, like Centerfest, stuff like that. So you know that they're there protecting our citizens and protecting our town. And when it comes down to a new building fund, I would definitely support that. They do need new facilities, they need new upgrades, they need to have better equipment that they need to do to serve this town once we take in all the other people that were taken into the reversion contract in 2023. But our police department is a top 8 department. Thank you.
Sir, Mr. Sly, didn't forget about you.
Can't forget about me. First and foremost, no matter how you package it, whether it's defunding, abolishing, I think the new term is reimagining, I'm not in favor of any of that. When it comes to policing, that there is a relationship there, and in a relationship, there are two sides. And so I think we can do everything we can to be better in policing, but we also can do better on the other side. There's a contract there, and we can do a better job educating our youth on how to interact with the police department. There's a way we can do that, and I think we need to do a better job at doing that. We need to stop demonizing the police department. I can say growing up, it was every child's dream, usually to be a fireman, a policeman, or something like that. And it was encouraging. And I would encourage our youth to look into getting into law enforcement. I think we can support our law enforcement and our community, and we can do so in a very responsible way. I was fortunate enough to be with the mayor and Chief Foreman on a national conversation, and they were interviewing us and the community on how we do policing here. And I think by the time we ended that session, they were shocked at some of the policing that we do here on just how involved we are with the community. But I think more so they were shocked at our community on how we hold people accountable here. We don't demonize our police department. We support our police department. And our police department supports those in the community. That's a two-way street. We work very hard on it, and I think we can continue that process going forward. We don't need to demonize it. I think we can all work together in this community to build a better Bedford. And that's what I'm in favor of, not defunding it or demonizing it. Thanks.
Mr. Sly, thank you. Gentlemen, our last question here for this evening. Of course, many years now, I've been talking about bringing a train station here to the town. If you're on council, do you support bringing the station here, and what do you believe that we can do to help make that a reality? Start to Mr. Haley.
Well, I've served on the committee with Mary, economic development person, and like I said, once the COVID hit, it kind of, I'm assuming it backed down a little bit in the process of the train station. But when the train station, we are supporting a train station. We, like I said, we talked about this for several years about doing a train station, and hopefully one day that we will have that train station here. I don't know if it's the time right now, it's just some legal justice that I've not kept up on it because of all this stuff with COVID and stuff like that. But in the process, there's been some issues where they had to do studies and stuff on other train stations before they actually make the approval to put a train station here. But if it comes down the road where we can get a train station with possibly a boutique hotel up here where the old middle school is and other things, that could bring economic growth to the town. They could bring people to town every weekend, riding the train here. Once the society gets back to normal, hopefully one day in the future or whatever. But when that happens, yes, I would support a train station. I would love to see a train station here in our town to help us to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? More proactive with everything that goes on in our town.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sly?
Well, obviously, yeah, I would be in favor of bringing a train station here. Anything we can do to increase our tourism, bringing people from the outside in, us being able to go. Anytime we can move people in and about, it's a good idea. You know, I would love for the opportunity to one day to be able to walk down to a train station, interact with people, welcoming them to Bedford. So anything we can do to help further that along, I think is important. It fits our economic model. I think it'll work well here. Anything we can do to help advance that along, I think we should. Financially, it has to be responsible, just like anything else. But I'm absolutely in favor of a train station and would like to see it in the near future. And any other transportation needs that we can do to advance our economic development, I'm in favor of as well. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Black?
Certainly, yes, I would certainly support the train station here. I know we have I believe a meeting next month where the department, DRP, is supposed to give their findings on the train station, and a little disappointed in the location, the change in location. We committed to some land, but that just didn't work out. That doesn't mean that the new site that they are in favor of can't be done. So yeah, I'm certainly in favor of that. I think this needs to be a regional project. I mean, Bedford County needs to be involved, Franklin County needs to be involved, and they have been involved. They've been involved in the planning, and they'll need to be involved moving forward. Obviously, financial wise, I mean, this is not a project that the town can take on financially by itself. So we're going to need to partner with those two entities and see if we can't make this happen in the future. So yes, I would support the train station. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Hartwick?
Okay, glad you asked that question. Yes, I would support a train station here in the town of Bedford. Reason being is this: okay, when it comes to business, you're either making something or you're selling something. If we bring more people into the town of Bedford, which I think we would be able to do, get them to come visit us with the train station, guess what? You have more people spending money in our shops, more people spending money in our restaurants, and that would help grow our economy as well. Now, as far as getting a train station, you know, we're going to have to partner with a few people. We may have to partner with Bedford County, obviously, and I would be willing to help us with that. Also, we're going to have to maybe see what we can do to get some state funding, federal funding, that is once we are approved to have a train station. In fact, this is one of the things that people have talked to me about is, why don't we have a train station here? We're between Roanoke, and Lynchburg. We need a train station. And if I'm elected to town council, I will do everything I can to help us get that train station. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I'm obviously in support of the train station for Bedford. And when I first went to Emory and Henry, we had a simple way to get on the train from Roanoke and land up in Emory. The train just simply stopped. Unfortunately, things have gotten really complicated since that day. Today, you have to put in a siding, you have to put in a raised platform for ADA accessibility. The cost of these things is about $2 million, has been estimated. So it's, without other people helping us, I don't think it's going to happen in Bedford alone. We're going to have Bedford County and help us with that. But I'd love to see a train station. I love riding the train myself. It's a convenient and easy way to go places, and it's just, I think people would really enjoy being able to catch a train and go to Washington or New York or wherever else they want to go to. So, yeah.
Sir. Mr. Staley?
All right. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I would definitely be in favor of a train station. They stopped, but years ago, of course, when I was a little kid, we used to have a train station here. The old Liberty Restaurant was the station where trains stopped. But as time went on, of course, it is no longer. I had the opportunity probably 3 or 4 years ago. My cousin's daughter got married in Connecticut, and we decided to take the train station up there. Ride the train up there, and we got it in Lynchburg and rode up there, and I will say it was an adventure. I was kind of like a kid on a little toy, and that I enjoyed it. I thought it was neat, and I think it would be great if we could get a train station here or a stop, but we will have to partner with someone else or other localities. I think this would be a great draw for people who coming from Roanoke. It's talked about one in Roanoke, but I'm not sure how far along it is. People would probably come here as opposed to Lynchburg. So I think it would increase tourism, increase the money into the economy here, and it would be a great thing. But that actually came about, I believe, my last year or 2 years I was on council. It was being discussed then, so it's been ongoing for quite some time. And I certainly hope it comes around, but it's got a ways to go.
Well, gentlemen, looks like we are going to have some time here this evening for closing statements. Going to give you all 2 minutes for those. We go down the line once again, just kind of wrap up, summarize who you are, why you're here, why the people of Bedford should vote for you. Mr. Black.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Bedford again. I really appreciate the opportunity in the past. I've enjoyed working with my fellow council members to try to meet the needs of the citizens of Bedford. And I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to do that for the next 4 years. And would appreciate your vote on November 3rd and earlier if you're doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Haley.
I just want to say it's been an honor to serve on council for the last years. It's been a challenging time sometimes, and it's been rewarding sometimes to see that you accomplish something in the town and for the people or whatever. And I thank all the citizens and all the voters for giving me that opportunity for the last 8 years to serve them as their council person. In the process of doing that, we do what we can to try to make this a better little place to live. And sometimes we do have hard decisions, and sometimes we can make some great decisions. But in the future, hopefully I will be here in the future. I would appreciate the citizens' votes, and I appreciate the people that support me in the past. And hopefully early voting on November 3rd, if you'll give me a vote, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haley. Mr. Harwick.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to once again thank the Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce, Mary Zirkle, and everyone that helped organize this event so I could hear from the candidates running for Bedford Town Council, including myself. If I'm elected to Town Council, I'm going to serve the people. I'm going to have open door policy. If they need something, they can come to me, and I'm going to do what I can to solve problems. I will never vote to raise your taxes, and I look forward to doing what I can to bring more jobs, more businesses into the town of Bedford to increase our tax base and hopefully have lower taxes as well. You see, I'm going to vote the same way every year that I am on council, regardless if it's an election year or not. With me, what you see is what you get. And with me, you will get consistency. And I humbly ask, and I would be honored to have your vote on November the 3rd, or if you're doing absentee voting or early voting, I would be honored to have your vote then as well. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwick. Mr. Johannesson.
I think it was Benjamin Franklin who once said, "It's easy to spend the public's money. It appears to belong to no one." I don't think our council members think that. I think our council members really are very conservative in how we spend the town's money. And I'd like to continue with that, doing it to the very best of our ability. We do have upcoming expenses. We have things that we need to consider. I think we need to carefully consider what our tax rates are Hopefully you don't have to raise them, that you can remain the same, that we can cover our costs, that we can pay our bills, and that we can do what's best for this town. With regard to economic development, I've been doing that for a lot of years in my work history. It's difficult. Bedford is like a lot of other communities. Everybody's competing for the factories and other developments in the area, and it's tough. We have certain shortcomings that we have to overcome. One of the things is we don't have natural gas here. It's about 16, 17 miles away from here. It's about $1 million a mile to put in a gas line. Without that, we're not in competition for a lot of factories that would come here. But we have some other good things. We have a really good community. We have really good people. We have a good school system, and I'd like to see us use that to the very best of our ability to get what we can. I'll stop.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Sly.
Thank you. In closing, I'll just say this, that voting is an important task that's given to our citizens, and leadership is extremely important. Every 4 years, you typically get talking points of lower taxes or balancing budgets or things like that. But at the end of the day, once you're elected, you have to get these things done. Hard decisions have to be made. Leaders make those hard decisions. Please take your time, review those on council. It's been extremely my honor to serve the town for 4 years, and I want to serve for another 4 years, because I think we've laid the groundwork to really to do some significant things in the next 4 years for the town of Bedford. And so I'll say this, I've always referred to Bedford as a pearl, and I think with a little polishing we can make it priceless. We can choose to live anywhere in the United States or in the world, and we choose to live in the greatest town in the United States, and that's Bedford. It's special to me, it's special to those that have served on council, and it'll continue to stay that way as long as we're responsible with the taxpayers' dollars and we work hard for the taxpayers. That's what I pledge to do, and I would appreciate your support on November 3rd. Thank you.
And Mr. Stanley.
Okay, thank you. You know, I remember years back when I first decided to run for council, people were telling me, CG, you do not know what you're getting into. Don't do it, don't do it. You're going to get all kinds of phone calls at night, complaints, maybe a little cussing here and there. And I remember telling them, I said, well, that'll be no different than what I have to deal with at work. So I'm used to it, so I didn't mind that at all. But it's been nothing like that. I do enjoy talking to people, interacting with people, and really and truly, that's why I'm still working part-time. I like to see people, old friends, new friends, get to know people. I'm here for everybody, and as we've all talked about earlier, I'm not here to raise taxes. I serve the community. I want to know what your concerns are. I want to know what you're thinking. As they've said, you can't always make the right decision where it fits everybody. There is no perfect decision, but at the same time, you try to make a decision, what is the best for the entire community, everybody. So that's what I've always tried to do. And everything, decision I've made in the past, what is the best for the community, best future, and bring us into the 21st century and beyond. So again, I enjoy serving on council. I'd like to serve another 4 years. Would appreciate your vote and support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stanley, everyone, appreciate y'all being here tonight. Appreciate you being willing to share your opinions. With that, I'll turn it back over to Wendy.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed hearing from each and every one of you and was inspired and encouraged, and we have some great candidates. We're just thrilled to be here and be able to support you tonight. And so thank you for your contributions so far and for ahead. Encourage everyone to go out and vote. And we are fortunate to live in an area that supports great candidates. And for our town council, we know that our area is a better place to live, work, and play because of those who serve selflessly. So thank you again, and enjoy your night. And again, we just encourage everyone to go out and vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.